Hey everyone, I'm Brad and this is Watch, Rate, Heart. And it's Friday, which means it's time for the watch list. It's where I discuss the films I've watched and my feelings about them. And with next week being Thanksgiving, I thought it would be a great time to review films that are set in the Thanksgiving holiday. Now, like I did with the Halloween episode, that doesn't mean all the film is set in Thanksgiving. You can just have prominent scenes during the holiday and it will count to me. So if you just want anything that's just all Thanksgiving, this might not be it for you. But anyway, we have 4 films to discuss, 2 of which are considered all-time classics. So let's get started with the silent film favorite. And that film is the 100-year-old silent comedy, The Gold Rush, starring, written, and directed by Charlie Chaplin. It has a Letterboxd score of 4.2 out of 5, a Rotten Tomatoes of 98% fresh. It was nominated for 2 Oscars. You know, I got a confession to make. I've watched a couple of Charlie Chaplin silent films, and even though I do like them, I'm not exactly bowled over by them like some people are. Like, I see some of the reviews on Letterboxd. They give it so much praise, and I'm just watching this movie going, it's good. I'll put it this way, and I'm going to say it again at the end. I appreciate it more than I like it, but I do like the film. It is definitely a cute and funny film at times, but it's funny in certain spots. But I will also say that Chaplin's physical comedy is, of course, really good, especially in the scenes in the mountain. Like, his physical comedy is just really good. That I can never deny. And really, all the scenes in the mountain and in the cabin are great. They're the best parts of the film, bar none. The problem is that they are bookend scenes. So in the beginning and the end, you're going to have scenes in the mountain and in the cabin. And again, they're the best scenes. But in the middle, the entire film is set in a town. And I gotta be honest, I really wasn't all that entertained by them. Kind of shoehorn in this romance between the tramp and this dancer, and I was really not feeling any of it, to be completely honest. Yeah, like the town sections were just kind of slow for me, and I just did not enjoy those sequences as much as I like the sequences that are in the mountains and in the cabin. And like I said in the beginning, I definitely like the film, but I think I appreciate it more than I actually like it. It's definitely an enjoyable film. I was entertained. I found some of the things funny in the film. I was very impressed by a lot of the things that Charlie Chaplin was doing in the film, but I can't exactly say I fell in love with it. That's why I'm giving The Gold Rush 3 stars out of 5. It's a good movie. I definitely enjoyed it. There are some funny parts. I think everything in the mountain section and in the cabin is actually the best parts of the film. But then there's that second act that is in the town, and I think it just slows everything down. And I just did not like the romantic angle that the film is having as well. So overall, 3 stars out of 5 for The Gold Rush. And in every episode, I not only give you my opinion, but the opinion of the Letterboxd community. Let's start with Nora. Nora gives it 3.5 stars out of 5 with a heart, and she says, my favorite thing about this film is the fact that in the little fella's fantasy, he gets so flustered that he can't give a speech at dinner, and instead does a weird little dance with some dinner rolls. So cute and pure, my soul has been warmed. Yeah! I guess that's somebody who knows who he is. Like, yeah, I'll give the speech. No, that's not me. This next review is from Boxer Santaros. Boxer Santaros gives it no rating, and this is what he says. Kinda atrociously paced, no? I kinda have to agree, actually. First third is gag heaven. Middle third pivots suddenly into something much more sad and gentle, yeah. And the finale just thinks it can return to the context-free zaniness of the opening stretches. Plus a very tacked on and, in my opinion, unearned ending that tries to tie it all together. I have to agree with Boxer on there. Yeah, I definitely agree. Mostly love all the bits, especially anything involving people in giant animal costumes. The bear. Yeah, that was a good one. But did not cohere for me in the slightest, especially when compared to the out-of-nowhere metaphysical dreamscape finale of The Kid, which I thought worked aces. I've got to watch The Kid. I've heard a lot of good things about that. Yeah, to me, I have to agree with Boxer Santaros here. To me, like, the first and third parts of the film were really the best. The middle third is just I just did not like it at all. I don't think he's saying he didn't like it, but it just didn't pace very well at all. And I also kind of have to agree with the ending as well. It kind of just feels unearned on that point. Yep, all good points by Boxer. And this next review is from Corley Johnson. Corley gives it 5 stars out of 5 with a heart. And Corley says, if you're looking for a 100-year-old movie with a cannibalism storyline, have I got the film for you? I actually thought that scene was pretty funny when he thought that Charlie was a turkey. I thought it was funny. Yeah. And this last review is from Shane Grant. Shane Grant gives it 3.5 stars out of 5, and he says, "The innocence of Chaplin's tramp is adorable and kind of inspiring, but the Gold Rush feels more like a setting for a rom-com rather than offering much to do with a plot, and I would have liked to see the Black Larson thread wrapped up." You know, I kind of agree with him on the setting part. However, Black Larson thread, I thought it was wrapped up. Didn't he die in an avalanche? Wasn't there that scene where he was walking on like the edge of a cliff and the cliff just caved in on itself and he fell? I thought that kind of wrapped it up. Maybe I'm wrong. Could have survived, I guess, but I don't know. It's funny that you just remind me of Black Larson because I forgot about him, but to be completely fair, but oh well. But yeah, like I said in my review, I found myself more appreciating film than I did enjoying it, but I definitely did find it entertaining for what it was. I seem to have this kind of issue with Charlie Chaplin's silent films. I love The Great Dictator. I thought it was a really good film. But when it comes to his silent films, it's good, but I'm not getting why it's so amazing other than the context of what it did historically. So yeah, that's me. I guess I'm weird like that.
How fast can you go, Tommy?
Like the wind, honey.
Next is the Jodie Foster-directed family comedy drama Home for the Holidays, starring Holly Hunter, Robert Downey Jr., and Anne Bancroft. It has a Letterboxd score of 3.3 out of 5, a Rotten Tomatoes score of 63% fresh, and it was not nominated or won any Oscars at the time of its release. Yeah, honestly, this is kind of a standard dysfunctional family comedy drama in the holiday kind of film. There's really nothing in this film that I would say that is really different or that's something that really stands out until you watch it and then kind of realize the one big difference it has is the one thing that makes it fall apart real quick. It's because the characters in this film try to come off as quirky and irreverent and weird, and they just are plain obnoxious. I didn't like any of these characters. I think the main character by Holly Hunter and the love interest by Dylan McDermott are okay. But the rest of them, I honestly could not stand. I just got annoyed by these characters. Especially Robert Downey Jr.'s character in this film. I think he's incredibly annoying. His character is more annoying too because everyone is all like, oh, that's Tommy. I'm like, oh my god, I just could not stand it. It was like, oh man, he was really the most annoying character in this film. The only kind of positive thing I can say about this film is like the tacked on romantic subplot in the end is okay. It's the one with Holly Hunter and Dylan McDermott. It's fine. There's no depth to it. There's nothing really that it adds to the movie other than just something pleasant to look at when everything with the family is going on. Then that's just annoying as hell. So yeah, I really did not enjoy this movie at all. I found it to be insufferably annoying. I'll give it one thing, though. I'll give it 1 star out of 5 and not a half star out of 5. So there you go. It's got that 1 star from there. Really, it is just a basic dysfunctional family drama. That's really all it is. And the only difference is that they try to make their characters seem irreverent and quirky and funny, and none of it works at all, especially Robert Downey Jr.'s character. I could not stand that character at all. The only saving grace is the romantic subplot, which really only happens in the third act, and even when it happens, it's kind of meh. So there is that. So anyway, 1 star out of 5 for me for Home for the Holidays. So we got like a smattering of reviews with different opinions on this film. Let's start with Haley. Haley gets a 4.5 stars out of 5 with a heart. Haley definitely disagrees with me on this one. And Haley says, unhinged clusterfuck family function at its finest. Robert Downey Jr. being in a silly, goofy mood the whole time was my favorite part of the movie. Oh man. Oh god. I usually really like Robert Downey Jr. Honestly, I can't think of a film that I didn't like him in. Like, I'm thinking like back in this like Soap Dish, I actually liked him in too. So for me to watch him and be like, he is so insufferable in this movie, I guess I don't know what to say. This next review is from KYK. KYK gives it 3 stars out of 5 with a heart. And KYK says, I am not convinced Jodie Foster has any clue how families function. That's probably true. So her vision of dysfunction is truly on another plane. It renders the movie with a unique brand of ridiculousness. I think realizing that at the explosive dinner scene is when this clicked for me. You know, that might account for a number of the problems I have with this film, that Jodie Foster just does not understand how families function. You know, KYK has a couple of points, because there are some scenes in this film that seem like, it just seems like it's in the eyes of somebody who's like, yeah, this is how a family functions, right? They throw the ball in the front yard, they all like do this, and they watch TV. It's just in this weird lens where it just doesn't seem authentic or real at all. And even though it's meant to be funny, it just comes off as confusing in a way. So I think I get what he's saying. This next review is from Patrick Pryor. Patrick Pryor gives it 2 stars out of 5. And Patrick just makes one observation here. The good old days when you could bring a full carton of orange juice onto an airplane. Yeah, right? The weird thing is, like, buy orange juice. And now today it's, how did you get that on there? That's funny. And this last review is from Alphonse Zero. Alphonse Zero gives it 2.5 out of 5. And Alphonse Zero says, I wish we could be honest and acknowledge how insufferable Robert Downey Jr. is. I'm gonna guess he means in the movie? Maybe he means in real life? You know what, honestly, I can see why some people would look at Robert Downey Jr. and be like, oh God, just stop, please. Oh God, you're so insufferable. But I genuinely like Robert Downey Jr. and I like the work that he does. So I guess I can see where he's coming from if that's what he means, but I definitely think he's insufferable in this movie. Yeah, this is just a bad movie overall. And honestly, I didn't really want to watch the movie, but there are so few Thanksgiving movies that I haven't watched that I was like, I guess I should give this a shot. And yeah, it's not good. Honestly, I would have rather either rewatched Plane, Trains, and Automobiles or maybe even rewatch Pieces of April. Pieces of April, even though that's a drama, is actually a lot better at doing what this film tried to do. So if you're into like dysfunctional family movies where they all meet in the holidays, Pieces of April, I think, is a much better film than this. So check that out. Avoid Home for the Holidays.
It's good to be young. Kind of sucks being old. So just enjoy this. Enjoy time. Time slips away, I promise you.
Next is the comedy Funny People, starring Adam Sandler, Seth Rogen, and Leslie Mann, directed by Judd Apatow. It has a Letterboxd score of 3.1 out of 5, a Rotten Tomatoes score of 69% fresh, nice, and it did not win or get nominated for any Oscars. Now, I'm going to start this review kind of differently because I'm going to use a Letterboxd review to make a really good point, and this review is from Josh Revens. Josh Revens gives it 2 stars out of 5, and he just says this, and it really sums up the point I have as well. I can think of at least 2 things wrong with that title. Not only is this a great Simpsons reference, it also perfectly encapsulates the problem with this film. Because for a film that's about comedy writers, comedians, comedic actors, how is no one funny in this film? How? How is that possible? The film is really not a comedy per se. It's really more of a dramedy. I mean, it's a comedy drama, but it emphasizes more on drama than it does anything. I mean, there's some darkly comedic elements to the film that work okay. This film just does not work in the comedy department at all. And it's odd because the film is about comedians. How did that work? It's really one of those bugbears that I have where if I'm watching something and it's about a comedian and the comedian's on stage and everyone's laughing at the comedian and I'm sitting there going, I don't find any of this funny. And that happened throughout the entire film. I was like, wow, okay. But let's continue with the drama. I think the drama is actually good when it deals with Adam Sandler's character's illness. And that is about where the film is as good as it's going to be. When it deals with that subject matter specifically, I think the film is decent. It has an emotional center to it that is interesting. It's darkly comic in some ways, and it really deals with that aspect of it authentically. And I actually really like that part. But there's also a problem with that because Sandler's character is so unlikable, it's really hard to care about his plight. I was watching this film like, man, this guy deserves to die. He's a fucking asshole. I hate him. And yes, that's kind of the point of the film. I get that, but on the other hand, you do want to find some way to like him. And I think that's what the film was trying to go for, was, yeah, this guy's a curmudgeonly asshole, but he's a likable, unlikable asshole. And I just sat there watching the film going, nope, I don't find him likable in the slightest. In fact, I find him utterly obnoxious, which is, I guess, typical for Adam Sandler comedies, but it's usually obnoxious in a way that is, I guess, likable for some people. I don't know, because I don't like him, but anyway. But I will say that Seth Rogen's character in this film is actually pretty good, and I think Rogen does the best job out of anybody in the film at all. Another big problem with the film, this film is way too damn long. way too damn long. This should have ended so much sooner. There is literally an hour-long subplot that happens in the film that should have been completely cut. And that is anything to do with Leslie Mann's character. Anything to do with her character in the film should just been cut entirely, because it doesn't really add anything other than a really long, drawn-out subplot that really just does not work in the slightest. You don't like Adam Sandler's character during those scenes. You don't like Leslie Mann's character in the scene. And at some point, I don't even like Seth Rogen's character in the scene, because I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what is wrong with you? You just feel bad for nobody. It just gets incredibly annoying watching everything unfold. At a certain point in the film, I kept trying to find out, okay, how much more time is there? And it's like nearly an hour long. And I'm like, whoa, really? Funny People is about 2 hours and 30 some odd minutes, and it should have been, at best, hour 45. Maybe hour 30 if I really want to be harsh, but hour 45 is probably where I would have cut it out. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like dark comedies. In Bruges is a great dark comedy, but it's not dark enough to be In Bruges-like, but it's also not funny enough to withstand all the depressing stuff that's happening throughout the film. And to me, Funny People is just a mess of a movie. That's why I'm giving it 2 stars out of 5. None of the characters, except for Seth Rogen's character, is really all that likable. No one is actually funny in this film, which is the thing that really shocks me. I think the only time I actually laughed in the film was watching the fake Adam Sandler films that were so stupid. Judd Apatow must have been making fun of Adam Sandler's filmography, like, to his face, and either Adam Sandler was in on the joke, or maybe he didn't realize it. I really hope he was in on the joke, but anyway. And the film is just way too damn long. There's no reason why this should have been 2 hours and 35 minutes. Like, really. It should have been hour 30, hour 40, max, and cut Leslie Mann's character completely, and you would have, well, you wouldn't even have a good film. You would have an okay, watchable film. There's so much wrong in this film that I don't even think cutting it would have made it any better. So 2 stars out of 5 for me for Funny People. Let's get into the Letterboxd reviews. This one's from Matt Lynch. Matt Lynch gives it 3.5 stars out of 5 with a heart, and he says, like it or not, this is probably as close as Apatow's gotten to the James L. Brooks movie he keeps trying to make. If that's the closest he's going to get, man, don't do it anymore. Characteristically ungainly, but at its best when it shades in the bubble culture it uses for a backdrop. Something Brooks typically manages to much more successfully integrate with his narratives. Let me think of the most recent James L. Brooks film I can think of, which is As Good as It Gets. I know he did Spanglish, I'm not even going to use that one, but As Good as It Gets. Jack Nicholson's character is unlikable, but still likable. That I get, and he pulls it off brilliantly. I don't think this is because Adam Sandler is not capable of doing the role. I believe he is. I mean, he's proved it before. He's actually a very good actor. I don't think the screenplay did a very good job mixing those elements together. I think it was doomed from the start right there. This next review is from Benjamin DeVassard. Benjamin gives it 3.5 stars out of 5 with a heart, and he says, fuck you, Adam Sandler. Fuck you for knowing you can act and knowing you can be in better movies. You fucking cunt. This is what I have been saying since Punch Drunk Love. This is why whenever I see one of his comedies and they're terrible, and I don't find them funny, I get angry, because I know he can do better, and it's so annoying. Man, it is incredibly annoying. And this last review is from Cobra Rocky. Cobra Rocky gives it 1 star out of 5, and Cobra Rocky says, the audacity of that fucking runtime. Oh my god, the last hour is painful. It really is. Like, there is no reason why the runtime is this long. And amongst many other things, that's probably the biggest problem I have with the film. For the drama part, it's good. But it would be good enough if you just stayed there and ended it at a certain point. It might have been like a 2.5, maybe 3 star if I was being generous. But 2 star is about where I'm going to go with this. It's just not funny. The drama's fine, and it goes on for way too long. I'd say avoid Funny People. Finally, we have what is considered one of the best music documentaries of all time, and that is The Last Waltz, directed by Martin Scorsese. It has a Letterboxd score of 4.2 out of 5, which makes it number 50, Letterboxd's 250 best documentaries ever made. It has a Rotten Tomatoes scores of 98% fresh, and wow, this did not win any Oscars? Huh. Interesting. I thought at least it would have been nominated, but oh well. So when I started watching The Last Waltz, I suddenly realized I might have a problem. because I haven't watched a lot of music documentaries. I think last year or the year before I watched Gimme Shelter, and I've watched a couple of others in the past, but I really thought about it. I was like, how am I going to criticize this? Because I'm not exactly a fan of the band, and I don't even know who they were, to be absolutely honest. And I got to be honest, I don't like going to concerts, so how am I going to really criticize this? And then I watched the film, and in about 45 minutes in, I was like, oh, I'm not going to have a problem at all because this film is amazing. Wow. The way the film melds the music and interviews together are really well done. I mean, incredibly well done. The film does a great job of breaking up the music and then into the interviews. These aren't really, I would say, in-depth interviews. They're interesting about the people in the band, what got them started, their struggles, why they are ending, and then what they're going to do when they move on. But honestly, the highlights of the film is the music performances, because the visuals of this film are amazing. They are beautiful. I think what's interesting is that Scorsese not only used performances as a way to shoot the film, but used the space as well to create a vibe and a mood that was really interesting. And then the lighting that was used as well was really well done. It made you really feel like you were watching a very important concert. And it's one of those things where people will say, yeah, I was there when this happened, but it really made you feel like you were there when it happened. And I think that was amazing on Scorsese's part. I really have no other way of putting that. It's the way that Scorsese frames everything, makes it feel special. Honestly, I think if you took out the interviews, or if someone walked in and started watching The Last Waltz in the middle, I think they would recognize that, whoa, what is this? Because it's shot in such a way that makes it feel like it's an important event. And before I watched this, I didn't even know who the band was, but I have to say, this is some great music. I actually really like the music that was in this movie, so I think that's neither here nor there. I don't think you have to enjoy the music in order to actually, well, it probably would be a great idea for you to enjoy the music if you want to watch this movie, but honestly, I didn't know who the band was. I enjoyed the music, but I thought this was a great movie. So overall, I'm going to give The Last Waltz 4.5 out of 5. Beautiful looking movie. I think the way that they meld the interviews and the music together is really well done, but just the way that the film looks, it makes you feel like you're watching an important concert, is what makes this film so great. I now understand why people think this is one of the best musical documentaries, and it actually might be one of the best Scorsese films that he has ever made too. So overall, 4.5 out of 5 for me for The Last Waltz. So let's get into the Letterboxd reviews. This one is from Chevelle. Chevelle gives it 4.5 out of 5. Chevelle says, in early childhood, I held it in my head that The Last Waltz was the Martin Scorsese picture I did not love. I had been wrong. Well, if you didn't love it, you didn't love it, so you weren't wrong. It just took you a while to get there. After many years, I have rewatched it again and again and again. 6 times in a 3-month period. Wow, dude. Okay. And with age, I have become accustomed to this kind of rockin' scar vocal music. Wise lyrics penetrates my soul, and the rest rambunctious. The interview segments with the band are boastful snippets, jokey, plugging away, but brief. About my rewatches, I now have let this become my go-to comfort watch. I can see how that could be, because this film is beautiful, but it also just is so comforting and relaxing. This is music heaven. Joni Mitchell, Van Morrison, Muddy Waters, Neil Young, Robbie Robertson, go, go, go. Scorsese camera has a few virtuoso moments, swagger, and sprinkling. Play it loud as it was meant to be. This next review is from Todd. Todd gives it 5 stars out of 5 with a heart. And Todd simply says, sorry, talking heads, this is the best concert film ever made. I've got to see Stop Making Sense, because apparently to a lot of people, that is the best concert movie ever made. So I got to find a way to watch that. This next review is from Sam Fay. Sam Fay gives it 3.5 out of 5 stars, and he says, stop making sense for boomers. Okay. You decide if that's a compliment or not. +1 for Joni Mitchell and Neil Young. And this last review is from James. James gives it 3.5 out of 5 stars with a heart, and James says, to be brutally honest, I have never heard of the band, but for watching this, their sound is amazing. I'm exactly the same way, and I agree. I'm actually considering buying some of their songs on Apple Music when I get a chance. It was just really good music. But man, this is one of those films that from Scorsese that I wanted to watch. I think the crime epics of Scorsese are one thing. And of course, they're amazing films, mostly. But these odd ones that he has, like Silence, like The Last Waltz, other films, where I was really curious about how good they are. And last year I watched The Last Temptation of Christ, loved it. And I love this movie too. This is a great movie. If you have not seen it and you want a different side of Scorsese that maybe you haven't gotten, definitely check out The Last Waltz. An amazing movie. And that is it for this episode of Watch, Rate, Heart. But before I go, I want to give you a programming note for next week. Next week, there will not be an episode of The Watch List, as it is Thanksgiving week and Black Friday is on Friday. I figured it would be as good a time as any to take some time off. But does that mean I'm going to leave you with nothing? I'm not going to leave you with nothing, because that week I'm going to have content to talk about the best of film in the year 1995. That's right. As you know, throughout the year, I was watching a lot of films from 1995, and it was culminating for this specific week. So I will start on Monday, November 24th. I'll discuss the best performances of films in 1995. On Tuesday, November 25th, that will be where I discuss the best in writing and directing of film in 1995. Then, finally, on Wednesday, November 26th, that's where I will discuss the best films of 1995. Check them out when they release, or while you're waiting in line on Black Friday at the store, or to get away from your family on Thanksgiving. Either way, I hope you enjoy my best of 1995 content. If you liked any of the reviewers I've highlighted in this episode, you can check out the video description for a link to their Letterboxd profile. Be sure to give them a follow and let them know that Brad from Watch, Rate, Heart sent you. You can follow me at Letterboxd and X at Watch, Rate, Heart. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it and share with your friends. I'm Brad from Watch, Rate, Heart. Thank you for watching, and remember, we all watch and rate movies, but you give them the heart that makes them live forever. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody.